Hi guys, welcome back to the Spurred On podcast. It's Tuesday and time for some more Tottenham Hotspur news and views. I'm going to start with a little look back to the Brighton and Hove Albion 2-1 game. Hopefully you saw my instant match review, but with a little bit more time to think about what went on. I want to talk a little bit more positively about how impressed I am anyway with Spurs managing to deal with Brighton's very specific man-to-man pressing system. And yes, of course, we didn't deal with it well in the first half. It almost seemed like we didn't expect it. We didn't expect their centre-half, Van Hecke, to follow James Maddison all the way up the pitch onto our own 18-yard line. That is something that just does not really happen in football. And sometimes you've got to give credit to the opposition for finding tactical ways to nullify us in this case. And when we went to the Amex back in December and lost 4-2, James Maddison wasn't playing. So we already didn't have the creativity. But in this instance, Brighton clearly saw that Maddison was the absolute key to the creativity of Tottenham Hotspur. And they just went man for man on him with Van Hecke. They went man for man on Bentancur while he was on the pitch in the first half with Danny Welbeck. And basically all through midfield, they just went one-on-one up against all of our players, which kind of in the end only left one of the opportunities it really left was for Vicario to go long, because it was like 3-on-3 in terms of the forward line. But what Brighton realised quite smartly, looking at the data no doubt, is that Vicario is not a kind of top level mid to long range passer, by which I mean Ederson at Manchester City and Alisson at Liverpool not only have the ability to play it short really well and are brave on the ball, as Vicario is, but they also have the ability to send a long, flat ball over the top to utilise the pace of their forwards if a team is going to line up kind of man-to-man against them in midfield. And that is kind of the only option. So Brighton were very smart, but I want to talk in terms of how Tottenham enabled themselves throughout the game to find ways around it. And that is something that Tottenham haven't previously been able to do over the last few years. They've really struggled when it's a game that hasn't started well for them. And in this instance, they found a way around it. And that way was to, if you take that, the winning goal as an example, Maddison comes deep, Richarlison with a good layoff, gives it back to Maddison, then goes with his runner. And actually what has happened is, because Maddison is so deep, the centre-halves are completely out of the game. And when then Maddison finds that between the lines ball into Richarlison, and Son is able to make the run around to his left, what they're left facing is the two central midfielders and a fullback only. And that is why Son is able to get around the outside and get that amazing cross in for Brennan Johnson at the back stick to rifle home into the roof of the net. So yes, Tottenham weren't brilliant in the whole game. The first half especially was poor. That they had a very good kind of beginning to the second half. Maybe even the last 10 minutes of the first half, first 10-15 minutes of the second half, we really started to get into the game. And then it was kind of poor. We sat back again. But in the end, you get the win. And in the Premier League, getting the win is all important. And especially against a team who finished above us last season. Let's not forget that. Brighton are in Europe this season because they finished above us last season. So that is a huge win for us to keep them further behind. And now it does seem like we're in a bit of a 3-team shootout for that top 4, potentially top 5 in the Premier League this season that could lead to the Champions League. Spurs in 4th now because Villa got beaten at home to Manchester United. I don't know what you think, but I personally don't think this Manchester United revival of 3 wins in a row is going to really going to lead to the kind of maybe 8, 9, 10 wins in a row that they would need to properly get up there where they are. They're 6 points behind us, and we've got Wolves at home and Palace at home next. I'm not saying the Wolves at home game is going to be easy, but what I'm saying is, again, like the Brighton game, they are winnable games. So Manchester United are going to have to properly put together a real run to overtake us, I think, and I'm just not sure they can do it. I feel with Manchester United, actually, where they really struggle is the games that they're supposed to win easily at home. I know they beat West Ham at home pretty easily the other week, but they didn't play that well, and West Ham were kind of unlucky. And I think they're going to come a cropper in some of those kind of easy games where they could get complacent. Anyway, just wanted to talk a little bit about that Brighton game because, yeah, as I said, very vital win. Before I go on to some of the other Tottenham news of the week, guys, please do continue to support the channel and the podcast. Thank you so much. Put a like in this video. That allows to raise up the algorithm and be seen by more Spurs fans. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, please do go across to the podcast platforms, drop me a subscribe or a like on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And don't forget, you can also be a Spurred On Pro or Patreon member. All the details are in the description box. It's only £1 a month and continues to support me and enable me to make this content. And once I've got enough of you together, there will be members and Patreon only live Q&As and content and other perks too. Okay, on to the rest of the news. Matt Law in The Telegraph has said that Tottenham do not fear that Ange Postecoglu would leave them in the instance that Liverpool approached him to become their new manager now that Jurgen Klopp is leaving. I mean, to be honest, this is a bit of a nothing headline if you ask me. Yes, Ange Postecoglou has been honest about the fact that he used to support Liverpool as a boy. However, in my opinion, of course Liverpool have won the league in the last few years and the Champions League. But without Klopp, do I really feel that Liverpool are that much further on in terms of squad depth and squad ability than Tottenham Hotspur at this point? I don't. And I feel like Ange would not leave after 1 year of this project to go to another club where he would have to follow a legacy, by which I mean it's incredibly difficult, and all of history has shown how difficult it is to follow a legacy at a football club. Look at Manchester United after Sir Alex Ferguson. Look at Manchester United after Sir Matt Busby. It took after Sir Matt Busby like 30, 40 years for Ferguson to come in and actually turn it round, and he nearly lost his job in the first part. And after Liverpool, after Kenny Dalglish, they had a few post-legacy managers, Shankly to Paisley to Dalglish. But after Dalglish, after that success, it took them another 30 years. So I think Big Ange is smart enough to look at Liverpool and say that is a poisoned chalice potentially. And at Tottenham, with all of our ducks in a row in terms of the recruitment, all working towards what he wants and him having complete control, I just do not feel strongly that he would look at that job as the right move now. Also, Matt Law was talking about in his Telegraph article how Big Ange is also on Man City's radar for when Guardiola finally throws that in. Now, that's just a line that you can easily take because he's worked for the City Group before, of course, but also, realistically, when do I think Pep Guardiola might leave Manchester City? When they get relegated for financial fair play irregularities, which, if it happens, and if it doesn't happen, then I think there should be uproar, 115 charges, and you look at what's happened to Everton, 10 points deduction with their charge. But if it's going to happen, that looks like it will happen at the back end of next season, going into the season after that. Some transfer rumours now. Johan Lang doing his thing around Europe, looking at some more young, Swedish in this instance, wonderkids. Viktor Djukanovic at Hammarby, 20 years old. He's a winger. He's available apparently for around 14 to 15 million pounds. He's a Montenegro international. He's played 3 times for them. What can I tell you about this young player other than every time I see a link between Spurs and Johan Lange and a young player from abroad, I think, yeah, probably something in it, because we are building up this young, exciting, ball-playing talent. He is an incredibly strong winger. He's not kind of lightweight, which so many wingers are. Really skillful, loves to beat his man, loves to roll his defender. Like, let the defender come in as he's got his back to goal, feel him, hit him, and then roll him the other way. That's something that another Swedish player, Deki Kulusevski, is so good at. But Djukanovic, pacier than Kulusevski and more likely to play off the left. He's a great presser, isn't afraid to chase back, press, slide, tackle, which is something that you know Big Ange will like. Loves to cut in on his right and has a great Sonny-esque kind of right-footed bend into the far corner. Really exciting young player, incredibly direct. So I'm going to keep an eye on this rumour at the moment, just because there's no kind of tier 1 level gossip about it. I'm going to go for maybe a 6.5 out of 10, but these are the players that Johan Lange is interested in, and that's why it wouldn't surprise me. Something maybe a little more kind of high value. There have been some talks that Tottenham might be interested in Real Madrid Starlet Arda Güler, 18 years old, Turkish international, scored an unbelievable left-footed goal into the top corner for Turkey against Wales at only 18 years old. Incredible. Gareth Bale-esque levels. Only Gareth Bale, kind of in my recollection, at that young an age was scoring international goals. He's played 4 times for his country, as well as scoring that goal, as I said. He's an attacking midfielder. Real Madrid signed him from Fenerbahce, where he was ripping things up in the Turkish league. They They spent 20 million euros on him. Now, he is a bit more of a kind of classic dribbly attacking midfielder. Short, kind of loves to be in tight areas. Another player who reminds me a little bit of Marcus Edwards in terms of his attacking, brave football. He's got a Messi-esque gait, actually. Quite, very quick feet on the ball. Loves to dribble onto his left-hand side. An unbelievable long-range strike for someone of his size. Loves a free kick. And actually, considering how small he is, a lot stronger on the ball than you'd think, which actually is good, because you might otherwise think, well, what is the difference between him and Bryan Hill? But I think he would have more chance in the Premier League than Hill has done in terms of strength on the ball. But let's see. At the moment, like I said, we are being rumoured to be interested in a lot of these very exciting young talents, and that makes sense. But of course, you can also say then agents are going to put Tottenham on that list of clubs to suggest that we are interested in their players. So I'm going to give that a 6 out of 10 at the moment, but he is a very exciting young player. For me, I think Ange is probably looking for stronger players when he's looking to bring players in terms of size, and that's why maybe Djukanovic is a bit more of a possibility. Just before I go, Fabrizio Romano has said this week that there was loads of interest in Pape Matar Sarr over the summer. In fact, he said as many as 6 teams were rumoured to be interested in Sarr this summer, and as a result, I wanted to read out a couple of Pape Matar Sarr quotes about his love of the club and staying. He says, "It's a great feeling being part of things here at Tottenham. It has become a family to me now. So it makes me happy to have renewed my contract with the club. The view is to stay here for as long as possible so I can really express myself on the pitch, enjoy the experience to the full with the fans, and push on to win trophies." I thought Sarr played really well against Brighton. So good to have him back and to have those options back in midfield, especially when, let's face it, Rodrigo Bentancur looks like he's struggling a bit in his return from injury at the moment. So wouldn't surprise me at all to have Bissouma back alongside Sarr this weekend against Wolves. I also want to bring you some Son Heung-min post-game quotes from after the Brighton win. He says, having come back from the Asian Cup, "I just want to help the team as much as I can, and I want to enjoy playing for the manager, playing with my teammates, and we will see what happens at the end of the season. There's only a few months left, but we don't want to talk about the future already. As I always said, I want to give the best that I can as a team that we can, and we'll see where that takes us. We can't promise, but we will do our best to make it something special." That is exciting words from Son Heung-min, who I think, along with James Maddison and some of the quotes he's come out with, I think they think we can go on a proper run now. I'm not suggesting we're playing that well. We're not. We need to play our way back into it, get the chemistry between the players who are all back now from suspension and injuries. But I feel there's a positivity about Spurs that could lead to a really exciting run. Anyway, that is today's Tottenham news and views. Guys, thank you once again for your support. Please do press that like button and the subscribe button on YouTube. Go over and subscribe and follow on the podcast platforms, or if you're listening on the podcast, please do come over to YouTube, press subscribe, and you can watch me every day with the daily Spurred On content. Come on, you Spurs.